up, YouTube? How you feeling? How you living? What's good? It's your girl Francine. Today is Friday, and hopefully this is up on Friday because, yeah, we don't need to talk about it. Today was supposed to be top 100s movies of all time bucket list review, and like I did on Monday, I did the top 100 albums, and today's supposed to be top 100 movies. And this is, if you did not know, Black History Month. And so for Black History Month, I wanted to do a black movie because duh. And I looked at this top 100 movies list and was like, this is strange. I don't see any black movies. Like, the closest thing I see to a black movie is Django, which is a movie about slavery, and also written and directed by Quentin Tarantino, which doesn't give me very Black History Month vibes. Or Enter the Spider-Verse, which I think he's black. He could be Latinx, I don't know. Or Lion King, which takes place in Africa. That's the only reason why you can call that a black movie. All three movies I have seen before, so I was like, you know what? I want to watch a movie that's actually a black movie, like for black voices and, you know, probably written with black voices in mind. And B, I wanted to watch a movie that I hadn't seen before, because even though I listened to Marvin Gaye's songs from What's Going On, I never listened to the whole album, I mean. So that was new for me. So this was the same. I wanted to watch something that maybe I knew a little bit about, but I didn't actually see the movie before. And so I thought to myself, I said, what black movie or black, you know, about black lives movie could you watch this week that would be prevalent for the month? And so I decided we lost a legend last month in Cicely Tyson, and I wanted to watch the movie that she got nominated for an Oscar for, Sounder, right? It's a very, you know, highly acclaimed movie. Pretty much everybody who was in this movie was nominated for an Oscar, and the movie itself, I believe, was nominated for an Oscar. And granted, they did not win. I mean, not really surprised. It came out in 1973, 1974 Oscars. We really didn't get much mention in the Oscars until the 90s, 2000s. So, because I think Denzel Washington was the first black person to win an Oscar. Okay, so I was gonna cut this whole part out because I am extremely wrong in so many levels. Hattie McDaniel is the first black person to win an Oscar for Going with the Wind. If you did not know, she was not even allowed to go to the Oscars because it was so segregated at the time. Sidney Poitier is also, I believe, won an Oscar. So I'm very much wrong. The only reason why I cut this in here is because I need to remind myself to look things up before I say them out my mouth. So yeah. So I thought, you know what, Miss Cicely Tyson may have gotten looked over for this Oscar. She apparently lost to Liza Minnelli for Cabaret, which is a movie I actually like, but come on, how you gonna shift Miss Tyson? Anyway, she did not win this Oscar, but I wanted to see what was she given, what was going on in this movie. And to be quite honest, this movie was interesting to watch. This movie, I'm gonna let you know this now, it's not the most like exciting, oh my god, what's going on, twists and turns, and this is a simple movie. It's a very simple movie about a very simple family that goes through a very big hardship and has to come together with each other to make it work. And this is not like a movie that's going to have your attention all over the place. This is a movie that I suggest you watch, especially for a black family. Watch it with your family. Watch it in a time when you have the time to actually pay attention to what's going on. Listen to, you know, the dialogues, because it's a very deep movie. And I don't really think this review is gonna be that long because, like I said, it's not like a bunch of stuff going on. It's just really a simple family movie where the family has an event take place. It kind of shakes them a little bit, and they have to deal with the consequences of what goes on as well as what happens afterwards. So this is my somewhat review, I guess, of the movie Sounder. So the movie starts off, we see a young boy and his father and their dog, and they're out coon hunting, okay? And they're trying to catch a raccoon to put meat on the table. I ain't gonna say nothing. I've never had raccoon, but hey, I know plenty of people eat it, especially back in the day. And especially in the country when, you know, you ain't really had the money to go and buy meat, right? So they're out hunting for raccoons with the dog, whose name is Sounder. So I'm guessing the movie is named after the dog, right? So the dog is barking and he's chasing this raccoon, and the dad is chasing it with the gun and trying to shoot it, and he can't shoot it. And eventually, you know, they come to the conclusion they're not going to have any game for that day. And so, you know, the dad's a little frustrated, but you can tell he's with his son. He's trying to encourage his son, you know, hey, you know, it's the best we can do, you know, and essentially trying not to make his son feel like, you know, worried about them being able to eat, because apparently they don't have any meat to put on the table, and, you know, that's a big deal. And so they go back to the house, and Miss Tyson's there. Her name is Rebecca. I know the name's getting better. Her name is Rebecca, the son's name is David, and the dad's name is Nathan. And they come back into the house, and the son goes to bed, and Rebecca fixes her husband some coffee. She lays down and realizes that he's not there. So she's searching for him, and he's nowhere to be found. So she's like, okay, you know, not really worried about it. And so she goes to bed, right? So next morning we see the kids, they wake up and they smell meat on the table. Meat on the stove. They smelling something cooking, and they're like, oh, we got meat. Oh, okay. And so they wake up, and you know, David, the little boy, he's like, where did this come from? Like, we were out hunting and we didn't have this. Where did it come from? And so his mom's like, hey, it's cooking. We about to eat. Don't worry about it, right? And so the dad is like, yeah, don't worry about it. So you know, they're eating in the morning, and you know, the mom is telling David, hey, you need to make sure you get to school. It's a 6-hour walk. 6-mile walk, not 6 hours, 6-mile walk. And I'm like, ooh, Jesus, okay. So he has to walk 6 miles to go to school. He starts hitchhiking. He eventually gets to school, and he is late, okay? And he goes to a white school, and he is the only one of the 2 black people in this school, right? And you can kind of tell there is not, like, you know. And we do see eventually we're in Louisiana in 1933, and this is, you know, in a time where segregation was very much a thing, a time, especially in Louisiana, and a time where, you know, sharecropping was definitely the way that everybody was making money, and they weren't making a lot, and they kind of had to make ends meet with what they had. And it's very unfortunate because these people, they're happy, they have a happy life, but unfortunately they don't always have the money, and we're gonna get there. And so you see, after, you know, David goes to school, we see the kids deliver this load of laundry to this white lady's house, Miss Boatwright, and they drop it off, and she gives them some coins, literally coins for her mom, for their mom, for ironing out her clothes, and gives them some little pennies. And she gives David a book, and she's like, hey, this is about the 3 Musketeers. You know, when you read it, we can talk about it. And you can tell kind of that a lot of people see that David is smart, right? He's a smart kid. He gets into school. We find out that the guy that they work for, the sharecropper they work for, he got him into the school because he knew he was smart, and Miss Boatwright is giving him books because she knows he's smart. Like, this kid has potential, right? And so once they drop off the clothes, they run to this baseball game, and their dad's in the baseball game, and it's fun. You know, everybody's having a good time, and they're walking back with Ike, who up here singing and strumming on his guitar. And you know, like I said, it's a good old home country kind of story until they get home, and there are men outside their door because their father apparently stole the meat that they got that day from a store, and they just stormed into his house, found the food, and arrested him. It's 1933 Louisiana, so I am not surprised. So they drive off with the dad in the back seat, handcuffed, and the dog gets injured, and the dog runs off. Sounder runs off, and David's trying to catch the dog, and it's a whole like scene, okay? It's a lot of things going on, and David's kind of dealing with everything at once. His dad is leaving, his dog is injured, he can't find it. It's a lot going on. So the next thing we see is Rebecca, Miss Cecily Tyson. She's like, I'm gonna go see my husband, okay? Because y'all just took him off. We ain't know what was going on. So she went down to the police station to try to see her husband. And one thing I did not know, and I did look this up, and this was very much true in the 1930s, you can't visit anyone either except for on holidays and Sundays, okay? And there's visitation days in prison now still to this day, so that's pretty common. But also, women can't visit any man in a prison, which was very interesting. And she was like, look, the sheriff was like, look, I can't make any exceptions. You can't see your husband. You can't talk to him, nothing. Like, you can't know any communication with your husband whatsoever. You got to come back on a holiday or on a Sunday, and it's not you, it's going to be a male, right? So Miss Rebecca, she goes to the store and she tries to trade in some walnuts for some groceries. She's going to bake a cake, and we find out that the grocery store that she goes to is owned by the guy that they do sharecropping for. And he is upset because he's like, what is it gonna look like on me when he gets arrested for stealing and I'm helping y'all out, even though apparently they owe him some money. They never really say what they owe him money for. Maybe I missed it. And they owe him some money. He's like, how you gonna get these crops to pay me back? And that's how he was paying them back with, sharecropping for him. So they didn't really get any money for it. That's why they were so poor. And so she was like, look, me and the kids will do it if he's still in jail. They have the trial coming up because the sheriff tells her the trial is next week. And she's like, look, if he's still away, we gonna do it. We gonna make it work. And so he's like, all right, we'll see. And so the next thing we do see is the trial. There isn't really a trial. It's essentially the judge says, yeah, you're guilty of trespassing and robbery. We're gonna put you on a 1 year of hard labor. Now, I have somewhat talked about this in another video about prison labor, but now they get paid for it, kinda. But back in the day, it was essentially still slavery. Like, they would have these prisoners doing hard labor for no real compensation. They would share them off to other people. So back in the day, they used to give prisoners to plantation owners. So essentially, you got sold to a plantation owner. Pretty much slavery, okay? Or they would sell them to the railroad companies and they would help build the railroads. And so they were at gunpoint, they were being whipped, which again, if you look at any prison, especially Angola, which is in Louisiana, I've been there, it looks just like slavery, essentially. And so that's what he's in for 1 year, right? And they will not tell him where he is. They won't tell him they won't tell his family anywhere where he is, what labor camp he's in, nothing. So we then cut to the kids. They're toiling the land. You can see that they're keeping up their end of the bargain. They're still going to be toiling the land for this man. And it's so sad to see because you see this woman who just wants to make sure that her family can still continue to go on. Like she's like, I'm a work, okay? And she is toiling that field. And so the next thing we do see after that is that it's a holiday, and so she takes her son David down to the police station to see her husband, and she bakes him a chocolate cake, which is so cute. And so he takes the cake, and the prison guard like stabs it because you don't know, it might be a hacksaw in there. How you gonna fit a hacksaw in a cake? Like, right now, just like maybe like a box cutter, but how you? Anyway, so he messes up the cake, but the boy still gets to give the cake to his dad, and they have a conversation, essentially saying, essentially the dad is saying, like, they don't tell me where I'm going, I don't know where I'm going, I don't know when I'm see y'all again. So then the next thing we see is, again, they're toiling the fields, and David is reading to his little siblings. He has two younger siblings, I think Earl and Louis May. I did not write their names down because it wasn't really that important. As they go to church, and the reverend apparently tries to figure out where their dad is at, what I almost say concentration camp. I mean, what labor camp he's in, and he says they won't tell him, right? So, he's like, you have to take it to God. God will fix it, and I'm just like. That's one of the things, like I said, I was raised in the church. I said that, I think, in either the last or the one before last. And yes, God can fix things, but you have every right to feel upset if your husband is in a work camp and you have no idea where he is. And apparently they're not allowed to tell them where they are, which just, again, very much the history of this country, okay? And so David goes to drop off some more laundry with Miss Boatwright, and she sees him and she's like, hey, what's going on? And he says, we're trying to figure out where my dad is and we can't find him. And she said she will help him find him. And Miss Boatwright is definitely like, a cool person in this movie, but I'm gonna be quite honest with you. She does something that totally threw me for a loop, because she tells this little boy, yeah, I'm gonna help you. But in movies, a lot of times the white characters, especially like back in the day when we were in the Jim Crow South, they'll be nice, they'll be, whatever, but they're not really helpful. Sis said, I'ma find them. I don't care how, okay? So she goes down to the sheriff's office, and she's apparently really good friends with the sheriff, and she's like, look, where is he? like, help me out. This little boy really wants to know where his father is. And he said, you know, we can't tell you what color people are, and we got to keep that secret because it's the color people, obviously. Not anybody else who goes to prison, just us, you know. And they can't tell them where they are. And, you know, that is definitely a way of having power over them and knowing that they are separate from their families and not giving them a way to have any communication with them, which is... But Miss Beaufort said, oh, you not gonna tell me? Fine. So she, when the sheriff walks away, because apparently he had to go to the judge, she goes through the paperwork and starts searching. And I'm like, sis, okay. She really down for it. And so she goes through the stuff and she finds out where he is. But the sheriff catches her and says, if you tell anybody, I'm gonna, you know, pretty much tarnish your name, make it seem like you're, what's the way of saying this without saying what I want to say, a sympathizer of people of color, right? And that sometimes doesn't look very well in the Jim Crow South. So she at first doesn't want to tell the little boy where her dad is. She's just like, I don't know, right? But I guess eventually she gets a change of heart and she comes to the house and she tells them where he is. She brings a map and she's like pointing it out. I'm like, she really trying to help these people. Like, granted, I mean, she doesn't pay them very much. I don't know, maybe she doesn't have the money, I don't know, but she's definitely trying to help them. So she shows them on the map where he is, and I don't really remember the coordinates. I don't even know how to read a map, so I wouldn't know anyway. So then we see David, he's having a dream that he's with his dad, his dad's coming back. And at first I was like, oh my God, he came back. But no, it was a dream, and it's sad because, like, you can tell it's really taking a toll on this boy that his dad is gone, because you can see from the beginning they were very close. And so they send this boy down to the camp to find their father, and, you know, they give him all this stuff, this food, and he takes the dog with him because they do eventually find the dog. I don't know if I said that the dog comes back and he's kind of injured and he tries to nurse him back to health, and so he takes the dog with him to go and find his father. And so he gets to this camp. Like, this boy is smart, okay? He is super smart. He is super, like, focused. He's like, I'm gonna find my dad, okay? So he goes to this camp and he's asking around, have you met my father? Have you seen my father, Nathan Morgan? I think his name was. And they kept telling him, no, he's not here. He's not here. And a white guy, the white guard, sees him and hits him and injures his hand, right? So he goes to this school, and he asks the teacher, hey, do you have any water so that I can wash my hand off, because it's bleeding, okay? And so she helps him and she gets it clean and says, you know, you're lucky it's not disinfected. And she gets him to stay around at the school and kind of watch the school. Now, this is different from the school he goes to, right? This school is a black school, a full 100% all black school. The teacher is black, the students are black. And he's like, oh, we got a school? Oh, so he sits and he's like fascinated from the fact that this woman is so educated, is educating these children. And so this woman takes him to her house. Of course, when you learn in a white school, let's be real, you're not learning our history. That's why we have a whole month, because they gotta force them to tell them, you know what? That's not what we talking about. But so this lady's being very nice to him. Like I said, she cleaned his cut for him, wrapped it up. And is really trying to help him and educate him. And so he goes to the classroom the next day, and he's, you know, interacting with the children. He's, you know, being very intellectual, very intelligent with these kids, and critical thinking, things like that. And so, you know, the teacher's like, hey, you know, why don't you come back for school? Like, you're a smart kid. And he's like, oh, you know, they need me back home. And so he goes back home to see his family. And so the next thing we see is the guy they're working for, who essentially saying, like, y'all doing really good with the sharecropping without your husband. Like, it's doing very well. You know, they're still giving him these services for essentially the money they owe them. He gives them like some stuff to take home with him, not a lot. And you know, they go home. So the next scene is the dog sees somebody out in the distance, and so he runs out in the distance, and it's their dad. Yay! And so the dad is home, and he's working with a little crutch, right? And he, you know, is happy to see them, but you can tell he's injured. Like, he's very much hurt. And you know, they're like, what happened? And he was like, my leg got exploded in a dynamite explosion, and since I couldn't work from the motor, to send me home. Which, unfortunately, is probably the best thing that could have happened to him. sadly. So he gets home and they are happy to have him home, and it's a beautiful moment with him and his wife and his kids, and it's so cute. It's so cute. And so the dad is trying to help them work, and he's injured. Like he can't really help them very much, and the son's like, oh, like I'm here for you, I can help you. And then we get a letter from the teacher. So I did mention that the boy sent the teacher a letter saying, hey, you know, I just wanted to talk back to you, how are you, hope all is well. And the teacher messages him, I said, texts him back, girl, we are in the 1930s. That's how my brain works. Like she messages him back in the text, right? No, she mails him back a letter that says, hey, like the school term starts in September, make sure you get some warm clothes, you can stay with me, and you know, you can learn in the school. And he's like, I don't want to go. And his dad is like, this is the best thing for your future, I want you to have a better life than me, like you're going. He's like, I don't want to go, I want to be with you. Because let's take into consideration, this boy has not seen his dad for a while. Like they had already raised the crops, is already back into September. Like he has not seen his dad in a very long time, and he wants to be with his dad. So you know, Rebecca's like, hey, don't be too upset at him, like he misses you, like this is what kids are supposed to do. And so you know, he goes and he sees him over by the water, and he's like, look, when I got my leg, you know, messed up, I realized that I don't want this for my kids. I want them to have a better life than me, and I want to make sure that they don't have to steal in order to feed their family. And so he was like, I want you to have a good life, I want you to go to school, I want that for you. That's, you know, what parents do. Like your parents sacrifice for you so that you can have a better future. And so he agrees to go to school, and we see him, you know, all dressed up, and he's about to go off to school, and him and his dad are driving in their little wagon to the school. And again, this is not a super intense, what's going on, oh my god movie. This is very much a good, wholesome movie that can put you in a good mood. Because I wasn't really in a great mood today, and it helps. It's nice to see, you know, like I said, your family, they sacrifice for you, they make sure that you get the best that you can. They sometimes have to do things that are unorthodox to make sure they can feed their family. And yes, he stole, but you know, he did what he had to do. And you know, we can have that conversation if you want to, but I very much enjoyed this movie. To be quite honest, the best part of this movie was the kid. The kid was a great actor. I looked him up. I don't think I've seen anything he's in before, like well after this, because he was a kid. This is his first role, but he was very good at this movie. Of course, you know, the loving relationship between Rebecca and her husband, and Rebecca and her children. Cecily Tyson makes sure she lets you know, I am working, okay? I am working for my family, and that was very much portrayed. I definitely get why it was nominated for some awards. It, like I said, it's not the most intense, like, movie. It's just a really good movie about very real things that happened in 1933 in Louisiana, where you were sharecropping and you ain't have any money, where you had to make ends meet, where you were put in hard labor camps if you stole for literally not much. Like, it was a very real time in history, and it's very good to see where we came from, because I mean, we technically still have hard labor in prison, except for they get paid for it. And yeah, we still have a lot of times people ended up in jail for small things because of discrimination. We still have a lot of things to this day, maybe not as bad, but we definitely still have this family dynamic of, I'm gonna do what I gotta do for my family and make sure that my family has a better life than me. And I think that's still a very prominent thing as well. So with that being said, this is my, I guess, review of Sounder. It was a very great movie. I'm not gonna rate it. It's a great movie. 10 out of 10 would recommend. Like I said, I don't think my review does it any justice. If you really want to see it, it is on Amazon, and it is on Brown Sugar, which is where I watched it. I had the 7-day free trial, okay? And I watched it on there. And of course, you know, Cecily Tyson definitely deserved that nomination. And I do plan on watching the autobiography of Jane Pittman as well, which is on HBO Max. I might do that one for the 3rd week of the month. Let me know if you want me to do that, because tomorrow, well, not tomorrow, next week is Girlfriend Take a Black Card. So I might do that for the 3rd week. But yeah, that's it. That's all I got for y'all today. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button. Comments, questions, or concerns, or suggestions, put them in the comment section below. And if you haven't subscribed already, I really appreciate it. I'm just growing slowly but surely, but I appreciate every single one of y'all. And I will see y'all on Monday. Bye.